My name is Lola B, and you are tuned in to 30 Days of Glamour Magic, where for 30 days I am sharing glamour techniques and tips for you to add to your current spell work or grimoire. Today is Wednesday, and we are talking about glamour for communication. Today's theme is clear expression, where Wednesday governs communication, studying, travel, contracts, money matters, and is a combination of masculine and feminine energy. Wednesday also is associated with the zodiac signs Gemini as well as Virgo, which is air, and earth sign. 528 hertz frequency is what I am playing in the background. If you feel any misalignment with the solar plexus energy chakra, which is also associated with the planet Mercury and Wednesday. I want to get into fluidity, intentionality, preciseness in communication, focusing on how we speak, how we listen, and how we are understood. Hello. Our affirmation today is I express myself clear. Fully it is expressed. I express myself clearly with ease. If you find yourself coming in and getting comfortable, I would highly recommend that you get something to take notes, a notebook, a writing utensil, or whatever way that you would like to take notes. A reflective surface. We do mirror work here. Any supplies if you would like to join with the makeup application in the second portion of the live, as well as any questions and insight. Although I am a teacher, I know how important it is to also be a student. And I would love for anybody to add any insight or any information or knowledge that they have on the topic at hand or anything that comes up in conversation. So diving right in, communication is definitely more than just words. People also respond to tone, timing, and presence before they actually pay attention to context. Where glamour comes in to support that is vocal clarity, facial openness, and ease in expression. When you have taken the time, especially I like to talk about before I go into public spaces, I'm very intentional about how I present myself, whether that is the makeup, whether that's the hair, the clothing. And I speak those intentions as I'm actually performing the glamour, which would be the makeup application, whether I'm picking out the clothing, laundering it. For instance, you'll hear me say a lot here that when I'm putting like my eyeshadow on, I usually say that I may do certain looks because I'm trying to draw attention to my eyes. I want people to have eye contact with me. So that intentionality, you'll start to see a quick turnaround of manifestation of exactly what you want out of how you present yourself. And so when it comes to communication, we do know that body language is a large percent of the communication as well. Tone. And we did talk yesterday about confidence. And so where confidence plays into communication as well when it comes to body language, usually you're embodying confidence in communication when your jaw is relaxed, your lips are soft and not pierced, and when you're openly expressing yourself, you're talking calm, not too fast, enunciating. That confidence comes across in communication, and it helps you to fully embody whatever intentional magic that you place into that interaction. And there's so many different ways that you can use this. You can use this daily. You can use this with specific communications, like if you're getting ready for an interview. If you are a content creator, you can use certain glamour techniques to help you when it comes to communication before you actually get on a live stream or before you do recorded content. Anytime that you have to present yourself, but you want your body to lead and your voice to actually follow. What I also teach a lot in customer service is that a large percentage of communication is not just speaking or giving, but actually receiving and listening. So clear communication includes receiving. Being able to continue a conversation requires active listening. Being able to solve a problem when you're assessing requires you to pay attention. And so again, making eye contact, making sure not to interrupt. All those also do lead back to intentionality and confidence, because when you don't feel rushed to have to prove a point, then there's no need to interrupt someone or interject. You can command the whole energy of the conversation by slowing it down, not feeling the need to feel a whole bunch of voice of silence with a bunch of words, being able to take the time to really think about the response before responding, and that enables you to be responsive and not reactive. Commanding attention and understanding that we choose all emotions, this helps you to be, again, more intentional when it comes to confidence and communication. This is also the reason why during mirror work we do stress repetition, because that's all practice. It may seem silly at first, but if you ever want to get better at being able to script things out, freestyling at the top of your head, practicing in the mirror and being able, or any reflective surface, really just helps you to gain that courage and always have that roadmap to get back to that energy. I like to call it muscle memory, but applying it toward a spiritual or almost like an intangible concept, where the more that I choose to practice the way that I want to present myself, even in the words that I choose to use, even in the pace that I choose to speak, I'm going to practice that. And the more that I practice that, then when I want to get myself back to that base energy, I've already laid out the roadmap to get there. It's already an energetic core for me to get there. So because Wednesday is about communication and Mercury governs Wednesday, Mercury days are about making the invisible visible, all of your thoughts, your ideas, and your feelings. This is the time to be intentional when you really want someone to understand you. You can even play around with the concept of wanting to present yourself without having to say anything vocally. That's also nonverbal communication, body language. Helping people to understand you is going to support translation and not persuasion. Again, we're not getting into, we haven't really got into illusions. We're not teaching about being on the defense. But it's all about being open and understood and safe and secure and sound and balanced within trust, within confidence, within love. And that's energy that then others can pick up from you. That's energy that then is easy to be translated and doesn't have to be transmuted at all. It's not the type of energy that you have to shield and block from. It's a very easy exchange. I always say that communication clears up misunderstandings. And so the aim and goal in all communication, no matter if it's nonverbal, should always be, the intentionality should always be with ease, to be able to forge connection, to be able to offer knowledge and information, to be able to make requests, to be able to pray, to be able to worship. It's all forms of communication. All should be with ease, and practice breeds perfection. So how glamour comes into play, we have to remember the foundations about what is glamour in the first place. Glamour, the etymology of the word, is magic in itself. So just being able to use specific techniques in a repetition and being intentional in how you present yourself. Sometimes people want to make magic itself very deep and spooky. We talked about it with mirror work one-on-one, that you can use a lot of other elements or forces. So if you have water, if you have earth represented, if you have fire, if you have air represented, those are the type of things. Elemental alchemy helps to boost the spell work that you do. However, spell work at its basic sense is just the words that you speak, and so you do not need the extra things to be able to perform the spell work. Sometimes the simpler you keep it, the more effective it actually is. Otherwise, if you have the time and you have the tools and supplies, I would encourage you to go all in. And this is where then we're using the planetary energy. This is where then we're going to bring up some orange, some yellow, some violet, and light blue. Those are the colors that are associated with Wednesday. That's when then you want to focus on solar plexus chakra. That's when then you want to also deal with, let me see, we're in a full moon still right now. Full moon is a time of gratitude as well. So this might be a time, if we're combining energies and utilizing the energy of the current atmosphere, it's time to be communicating gratitude to the universe, to the divine, to the spirits, to the ancestors, to yourself. Using planetary energy is also a tool to help boost the spell work. We also know that the throat chakra also governs communication, and so you can also do some work with the throat chakra as well. Like to remind that the energy centers themselves don't experience blockage, as energy is always in motion. You may feel misaligned to your energy centers within your physical or etherical body and may have to do certain things to help to restore that alignment. For our mirror practice, we do have two simple affirmations that we want to say. So I do have my black cloth, and I want to take my reflective surface, and I want to take the time to be able to now open the portal so that we can continue on with our second half. I do take the cloth and I will go in circular motion clockwise forward in time to go ahead and open the portal. And I always like to ask Archangel Michael and the other archangels of the highest white benevolence in this session. Sources known and unknown, no trickster or confusing or chaotic energy to come through. This energy is balanced, supported with consent and the utmost care. Here at the Moon Move, we always like to remind of our code of ethics as well as our rule of three before we get into doing any spell work together or any rituals. This work is for self-embodiment, confidence, and personal alignment.
We work with clarity, consent, and care. We do not influence, manipulate, or override anyone's free will or cause intentional harm. All energy is grounded, protected, and returned to balance. I like to remind that there are plenty, just like you found me. If you are into the dark arts or black magic, that is not something that we put the focus on here. And our rule of three, am I being specific? Will I harm me or anyone else, or am I willing to take responsibility? Being very intentional and specific in the spell work is an important step that you cannot forget, because obviously, like I said, at the very basic level, spell work is just the words that you speak. And so you could say, I just want a car, or you can be very specific and get down to the color, how many seats, how many miles, is it new, is it used? The universe is going to mirror exactly what it is that you project. So being very specific, the intentionality is what we never skip over when it comes to what we do here. Harming myself or anyone else is understanding the risk involved in anything that you participate or initiate. Am I willing to take responsibility? We live in duality. Cause and effect is at play. For every action, there's a reaction. And so being specific, understanding risk, and taking responsibility for the result of the spell work that you participate in is 100% important. And if you agree to the rule of three as well as our code of ethics, then you can then safely and with consent participate in rituals and spell work here with us at the Moon Moon. So now that we have opened up our portal, again, I have two different affirmations, very short and sweet, that I would like to say to God. To get us ready and in the mode to be able to do so, though, we do like to do some square breathing. It is in a nice little meditative state, grounded and ready. Now that the portal is open, we want to make sure that our heart is open and that we feel safe and comfortable. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Lola B. You have joined 30 Days of Glamour Magic, where for 30 days I am sharing glamour techniques and tips for you to add to your current grimoire or spell work. If you like to stay and get comfortable, I would suggest that you grab a notebook or writing utensil, however you like to take notes. Reflective surface, we do mirror work here, as well as any supplies if you'd like to join in on the makeup application. That is what I lean toward for glamour. If you do stick around, we will be talking about different kinds of glamour, which has to do with hair, clothing, jewelry, so on and so forth. This is a teaching platform, so I encourage all of that, as well as to bring your questions and your insight. Even though I am officiating, I love to hear anybody's questions or information that they may have with the theme or whatever comes up in conversation. We've talked a little bit about glamour and how it ties into communication. Today we started live on Wednesday evening, which is about study, communication, travel, contracts, and a combination of masculine and feminine energy, talking about the solar plexus as well as the throat chakra associated with Gemini and Virgo zodiac signs. And I listen to 528 hertz frequency for the solar plexus chakra. May switch to throat chakra when we get to the second half. Just if we feel any misalignment, that is a sound bath healing frequency that we can listen to aid when it comes to that. Now for the mirror practice, I suggest to be sitting upright in the seat so that you can actually have your feet firmly planted on the ground for grounding purposes. But you can sit however you're comfortable. I will also suggest not to have to sit up like this, but just go ahead and rest and relax and make sure that your shoulders are down. Square breathing is really simple. It's a notion of inhaling, holding, and exhaling on the same number count. What I did learn from a therapist a little while back is to extend the exhale just to give ourselves a little more space and room to release. So for our demonstration of square breathing, we're going to breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, and exhale for 6 seconds. We're going to do that a couple times. You can count however what makes you comfortable before we even start to fix our gaze within the mirror. And we can now begin. Again, inhale on 4, hold on 4, exhale on 6 seconds. If you do find yourself bringing your shoulders up when you inhale, make sure just to remember to relax them back down when you exhale. I strongly encourage, as we're doing an extended exhale, to breathe in through your nose, but breathe out and push through your mouth. Just continue to do that until you can actually isolate and start to feel all parts of your body relax. After a few repetitions, you should also be able to bring your attention to any part of your body that feels tense or where it may feel that there's some stagnant energy. And once you identify that, when you are inhaling, go to that particular part of your body. And when you are exhaling, extract or push to be able to get that energy moved around. This is how you can begin to perform Reiki on yourself. So you can continue with the deep breathing, the square, in, hold, and out, or you can settle back to your base breathing, just nice and relaxed and comfortable, not tight or restrictive in the diaphragm or the chest. And the first thing we want to do before we get into our phrases or to affirm is to be able to just look at our reflective surface, just look straight at yourself, making eye contact for as long as you can. Continuing to just breathe naturally or the deep breathing techniques that we just went over. If you ever find yourself struggling to maintain eye contact, that moment when you feel like you want to break the gaze, that is the edge that you want to continuously try to push. Every single time that you participate in the practice, you want to be getting better at being able to maintain eye contact with yourself. If you don't have an issue, then just offer grace to the rest of us. As you are making eye contact with yourself, the first phrase that you want to say is, I speak honestly. That is where also genuine communication is rooted within truth. When we look in the mirror, we cannot lie to ourselves. If we're supposed to start with contentness, we're supposed to be okay with what we see, not correcting, not criticizing. We need to be honest. I speak honestly. The second phrase is I am understood. Permanent state of mind and being. A lot of times we like to walk around acting like we don't care about what other people say or feel. But honestly, communication, what is communication without conversation? It's a give and it's a take. And when we speak or express ourselves, we do long or desire to be understood. We can affirm that within ourselves so that we can communicate with confidence and allow other people the space to be able to be responsive to us and not reactive. I am understood. Again, giving ourselves a base and a foundation energy to be able to attach to without an expected outcome. You may be misunderstood. However, if you've been telling yourself and understanding that you are understood by some in whatever case, shape, or what form it may be, then the emphasis will not be on the lack, but only where there is abundance. You can continue to say that to yourself. I speak honestly and I am understood. You can combine them the way that I just did, or you can say them separately in between breaths and continue to make eye contact with yourself in the reflective surface as you do so. Again, this is about using communication to make what is invisible visible with your thoughts, your ideas, and your feelings. Remembering that communication includes receiving and not just speaking, so it's important to be active listening because communication outside of conversation is really nothing. It's always a give and take in communication. Confident communication does have a certain posture of what it looks like. Being relaxed, jaw, soft lips, open throat chakra, vocal clarity, facial openness, ease in expression, having a certain tone and a certain pace. Remember, our affirmation today is I express myself clear and with ease. Our foundational week, where we talked about what is Glamour Magic. We went over some mirror work one-on-one. We talked about intentions and manifestation and made our way to now breaking down glamour for different categories. This week we have gone over self-love, We talked about confidence yesterday, and today we have been discussing communication. Communication is our verbal as well as nonverbal way to express ourselves, and I can't find any better way than to do it with glamour. And I think I'm ready. I would like to say that I don't know if I was always 100% confident talking. It seems as if somebody that's talkative was always confident talking. Like sometimes talking was used as like a nervous habit. It's like laughing at things that just aren't funny. Talking too much. It was definitely used as a shield for me. It wasn't always used as something, it wasn't used in confidence all the time. It was used because I wasn't confident. And I hid behind talking in just noise and being loud. And as I got older, just realizing how much silence is also very important. Observing and not being the loudest in the room also shows a great deal of confidence. And I think having certain interpersonal relationships, especially romantic ones, helped me to see how comfortable, again, as I get older, how comfortable I am with silence. I don't have a TV and I really don't have a lot of noise or listen to a lot of things. I'm okay with sitting, not listening to any music, any noises. I go to sleep now like that in the dark. And I used to put the meditation music on, rain sounds and stuff like that. But now I'm able to show how confident I am when it comes to platforms like this. Because my favorite tarot reader right here on TikTok, well, she's on everything, but she likes to say, dominate these time constraints. And that's what I be more so concerned about nowadays. Is dominating the time constraints. Making sure that, first off, I be trying to make sure because my freaking brain be moving faster than my mouth. But second off, when I talk, I want to be heard. And sometimes I learned in the corporate world that you have a little bit of time. You have a very short amount of time to have their attention. Very short amount of time. We used to have to make presentations. This was absolute torture, what I'm about to say now, but this was the reality. We used to have to make presentations every single week, every single Tuesday. We had to have a full presentation ready with having no idea whether or not we were going to be called on to present. But we had to have a whole presentation ready. And then we only had 2 to 5 minutes to present total. And this is talking about bar graphs, charts, the whole nine, literally. So it's like the executive team, they wanted to hear what you had to say, but they made sure you knew that there wasn't a lot of time to say it. They wanted the high level information for your department or team, and that was pretty much it. So I learned through that a lot too, and that was just within the last 4 to 5 years, learning how to be in that space and how to give the information in a very short amount of time. And just I guess what the powers that be would deem respectful or appropriate communication in those type of settings, because I had to learn how to communicate better, even if it was just through email. I used to be a very straight to the point person. I wasn't trying to give a bunch of salutations, and I was just trying to get straight to the point. We got a work to do. We not here being friends, you know what I'm saying? So it was a lot that I had to work on within myself, because I pretty much rejected a lot of the notion of that. But I had to. It was like corporate life. It was indeed corporate life, and so you will find certain situations where you have to fit a certain communication model or mode or type. I wanted to rebel against that so bad, but then I guess realistically just had to play my role, my position. I was a senior manager, so I was higher up and I had to be an example. But then I had to ask myself, what did I learn from this circumstance to be able to utilize this in other areas of my life? I will say that it has helped me to, again, as we're talking about intentionality, being more intentional with what I say, being careful about what I say, caring, first off, about if I'm saying how what I say affects other people or how it comes across to other people. So at the end of the day, I do believe communication is very important. So what did I learn about communication in relationships? So now that was corporate world, and that in relationships, I didn't have an issue again not being confident, or when you struggle with wanting to be heard. When we're talking about not interrupting or interjecting, I had an issue with that. And so, again, if you visit my page, you'll see I'm starting to talk more openly. I was in a lot of abusive relationships. I hadn't learned my lesson. I kept attracting the same energy, and I found myself just always in fight or flight mode. And so, when it came down to it, I learned through the constant arguing and feeling like I'm not being heard and always having to defend myself. I used to do this practice with, it's actually my ex who tried to unalive me, that I learned the best communication through. We started a process where we would, when the other person was talking, we would have a little notebook, not the phones because the phones are still very distracting, but we would have a notebook and we would write down anything that came up so we can respectfully not interrupt each other or interject and be able to respond to all parts of the conversation, every point that they brought up, and leave room for anything that they say or for them to disagree, add anything, what have you. So it was difficult doing that with somebody who I felt like really didn't care. It was very ego based, but it was just like I can honestly say that it was a situation where I felt like spirit can still use somebody. Spirit can really still use somebody because I learned a lot. That was one of the most horrible experiences of my life, and I learned a ton with that situation. Today was Wednesday, so it was like yellow, orange, violet, blue. It's supposed to be light blue, but we just went with throat chakra. So we did some blue brows just to do something slightly different. Because we did Wednesday last time and it was like it was giving sunset. So now I want to try to do something different. And then the question is like, what can you or have you done in the meantime just to keep yourself motivated? I think that is a great notion. Going back to school. These is kids that's doing this? What? What is going on? Who fighting and running around the house? Who is fighting and running around the house? Oh, kids. What? That's my doctor. Hold on. Yeah, that's the sucky part about living with somebody. They don't have to care. Unfortunately, they don't have to care. And that right there might actually be a nice little healthy distraction for you to be able to get yourself together. And then it's dual purpose at the same time. What would you study going back to school? Photography. Is photography something you were always into? Or is that seems like that's news to me? Were you always into photography? Because I felt like I didn't know that. Were you always into photography? Hello. I think if it wasn't for the aspect of going into debt, that I would definitely go back to school. There are some programs where they will give you the equipment. So you go ahead and enroll and get on in there, and they will give you a camera and a computer and stuff like that. There's time now that you need to just start all the things that you said that you want to do. So, get the right licensing and whatnot. Or are you just gonna go the non-traditional route? Okay. So you want to do, so what's the goal? You want to do other people's stuff? Because that's the reason why you're supposed to be on here with your stuff, learning on your own pace first. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Of course, that was too high. Shape is always not getting, it's always this shape that's not going to be right over here. It's always that shape that's not going to be right. One step at a time, though, you know what I'm saying? I'm not rushing nobody. It's a little bit more like it's supposed to be. And it just be too much information out here not to just jump in and just try to find what works. That's kind of what I get because I just made a shape up and didn't know what the hell I was doing. That's what I get. Because then it don't ever turn out right. Never turns out right. And so this one, always the left eye that's not right, but I stress myself more. I'm trying to, and it won't let me do it. So now I can do what I was trying to do. With the orange, blue, purple. Of course, the shape is not perfect, but this is where I'm just adding more flair to it. Adding color where it matters. Go ahead and start that process. There's some ways that you feel like you can be more intentional in the way that you communicate, whether that is verbal or nonverbal communication. What are some ways that you could enhance your verbal or nonverbal communication? For me, like I was saying, I actually was trying to discuss how my ex taught me. I have definitely tried to utilize that in other areas of life with other people, as long as I don't say where it comes from, because I guess it sounds kind of silly to be like, oh, like I said, my ex that tried to unalive me taught me the most about life and taught me the most about communication and taught me the most about myself. So it seems crazy. It seems real crazy, but that's exactly how I was. And so when I talk about it, I don't always talk about it in a negative sense. Sometimes I'm talking about it in a way where I can acknowledge all of the things that it taught me, all of the things that I learned. I didn't just walk away with my life. I walked away with a lesson because the whole point in getting through it this time was to never have to do it again. So I definitely had to walk away with more than just my life when it came to understand how important it was to have walked away with, like I said, those communication skills and just different things. So that when I find myself in the situations again, I already have identified my triggers. I've already looked in the mirror. I already know certain things. I think that's just equally important because I'm not just going to sit here and talk about the negative things. I'm not just going to talk about the negative things. There's a lot of positive things that that relationship taught me, and I could walk away from it. Thank God that I'm alive to be able to tell the stories. But it's really not going to mean nothing if I just keep getting in situations like that and similar over and over again. Like that is where I share more than anything else because people get ridiculed. It was embarrassing. It took a while for me to even talk about exactly what. First time I was talking about what I went through, but then it took a while to who it was that I went through it with. And it was just telling the truth to myself. It just took a lot. But now that the truth is being told, the embarrassment of the situations is not my crutch anymore. And then boom, so many things I ain't got to worry about. But I'm just about done. Again, the colors were orange, blue, teal, yellow, purple. Combination of the solar plexus and the throat chakra, as well as what we picked that was good to command the attention for communication. And we started the live on Wednesday. So that was our motivation for the colors was Mercury and Wednesday. And I just used whatever color was left in this blush. Every day we seem to waste some of our favorite glue, so let's try our best to not do that today. Just a little bit. And if you are hanging in there, I appreciate you and your energy. My name is Lola B, and you are tuning in to the last 20 minutes of Glamour Magic, where I share my glamour techniques and tips, which I like to do makeup with a lot of color, emphasis on color theory and psychology. And this is all for embodiment and personal presence using mirrors as a portal for self perception. We do mirror work here. And so this is a teaching platform where for the first hour we go over whatever the theme is. And then for the second hour, we do get into the chosen glamour application. So our portal is still open. I just wanted to apply some lashes to the lips and then we can close it. So we did something different. We did a colored brow today. Now we're gonna put some lashes on. Sleep the look off with a little lippy and then that's it. Then we're gonna close the portal and have a good night. Sometimes it's better to use my freaking fingers than this. But I do like to get in there and try to pinch it at least with the because that's what we're gonna tap it. The light back on. Because I can't see. Let's see. Because I normally do not trim and then I should because sometimes I know I have a lot of eye surface, but sometimes the lash strip is just too big. That's really the issue. Just be too big, but it's still get them on there. And relatively simple and fast. My tip is just putting the glue on the lash line and it just helps. And I need some more right there because it ain't sticking. Barely any left. Everything that this daily application and makeup is doing for me is increasing my patience. Because there's plenty of times where I sit and do this and people always ask me, oh, where are you going? I'm not going anywhere. That's never the point. But a lot of times when I'm not going anywhere also helps me to not go as fast. And then like I said, with repetition, it makes it so that I can still do certain looks faster because we're done before the hour is up. And I like to say that is because I've learned that there we go. Now we got to press it down. Liner on there. Remember, clear expression creates connection. So the clearer you are in the way that you communicate helps to connect better. No matter what type of level or what type of intention the communication was for, the clearer you are. Can you just jump in and freestyle and just do things? Yes, but again, I like to believe that the roadmap to be able to do that successfully begins with you practicing more often so that you have the confidence to be able to freestyle communications. Makeup look is finished. We see it now. And let's close the portal. Black cloth. We're going to go backwards in time, counter clockwise. We did clockwise to open. We're doing counterclockwise to close. And then we go ahead and say our closing incantation. I am in full control of how I present myself with specific and precise intention. Every application amplifies my inner being. I attract only what I allow. I repel all that serves me none. And this glamour is sealed with clarity and care. So mote it be, right? And then cloak it and put it away. It is sealed and ready for the next glamour application on another day. So I can see I express myself clear, y'all can see it better. I don't know why I took forever to do that. However, there's two things to share, and then I'm going to be able to close the live. Go ahead and give that a quick read. I'll be right back. I'm so happy I figured it out. Every time I get on live, I learn something new. It's so exciting. So, yes, we talk about this all the time about getting back to basic energy. And so I saw this on Pinterest and it was saying to remember to give yourself, ground yourself, taking the 3 breaths like we did the square breathing, reciting the affirmations. We do that every single night with our mirror work, and we make sure that we're saying it to ourselves. We're writing them down. You can look them up or you can make them up yourself. Engaging your senses. This is what when we talk about the square breathing too. When I talk about just sitting and thinking about every part of your body, actually seeing where there's any pain or any tension, sipping water, adjusting your posture, recognizing the trigger, noticing where, like I said, the pain in your body or any tension, tight chest, clenched jaw, and try to figure out what was the onset of it. Asking yourself, is this a real threat? Assess and adjust. The mental reframing or rewiring. This is what we literally talk about every single day. And what I love most about is choosing your response. I teach all the time about making sure that you practice honing your power. One of the ways to do that is remember that you choose your emotions. They don't choose you, you choose them. So remember to give yourself grace, grounding, recognizing the triggers, assess and readjust, choosing your response, and then exit. Sometimes you don't have to engage at all. You can engage elsewhere. Get on the body there. Now, another one as well was this. 1, 2, 3 daily steps for the nervous system. Movement, breath work, brain retraining. This is what we talk about every single day. Okay? And so I wanted to share that these resources are readily available. So if you look up breath work, if you look up meditation, if you look up calming the nervous system, rewiring the brain, either looking up the specific techniques that we talked about or you look up what your overall goal is, this is what you're going to find. It's always going to start with you being in a calm state of mind and being. It's going to give you the tips and techniques. It's going to give you sound vibrations. It's going to give you breathing techniques. It's going to give you herbs and essential oils. It's going to give you colors. All those that are associated with whatever goal that you're trying to accomplish. So we've been talking about communication and the confidence to be able to communicate, practicing the communication techniques, understanding that communication is not necessarily equal parts, but there is nonverbal communication. There's your tone that has to do with it, as well as your pitch, your pace, things like that. So being intentional is doing the research, identifying where you have some weaknesses in whatever you're trying to get better at, and being able to not only just look for those and search for those, but find a way. Again, it's always about integration. Integration takes you away from doing it every once in a while to it being habitual. That's what when it turns into the ritual where you're doing it without having to think about it and getting the greatest benefit, because it starts to be ingrained into your lifestyle. It becomes a part of who you are and not just something that you just do. Thank you so much for joining me again. My name is Lola B, and this has been 30 Days of Glamour Magic. Where make sure that you share, follow, check out any other posts on my page that I've been sharing just to promo the safe space that I've offered to join, as well as anything else that you may be into. My TikTok is full of just all aspects of me, so you might see a little home life. You might see some business stuff. You'll definitely see some spiritual things, some makeup, as well as some music. I just love connecting and coming on here. And as we're going through this 30-day commitment, this is helping me not only just to be more disciplined, but also as we are boosting our manifestation power together and raising the vibration collectively. I do offer private, personal services, so feel free to inbox me. And remember to express yourself clearly, be bold, be confident, be kind to yourself, to others, to everything that you own, and be intentional.